5 minutes to the gentleman from Virginia, Bobby Scott, the ranking member of the Education and Workforce Committee.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank the gentleman from Massachusetts not only for yielding, but also for his years of work fighting hunger. He's one of the strongest advocates we have in Congress in fighting the scourge of hunger, and I want to thank him for all of those years of good work. It's my privilege to be the ranking member of the Committee on Education and the Workforce, and in that perspective, we played an integral role in the reduction of food insecurity and lowering the prevalence of the debilitating health conditions, including obesity and diabetes and others. Our committee is tasked with making sure all children have an equal shot at success, and one important way is to ensure that by providing healthy, nutritious meals. There is a federal role in ensuring that every child has access to quality education, regardless of where they live, their family income, and that nutrition is a part of making sure they can get that education. More than 60 years ago, Congress enacted the Federal Child Nutrition Program, the National School Lunch Program. Congress acknowledged that feeding hungry children was not only a moral imperative, but also an imperative for the health and security of our nation. School lunch program was actually a response from the military community, who were complaining that so many of our young military-age youth were unprepared for military service because they were malnourished. Regrettably today, we're faced with the same crisis that impacts our nation's national security. Too many of our children are now obese, and too obese to enlist in our nation's military. 1/3 of the children in this country are overweight, and childhood obesity has tripled in the last 30 years. While all segments of the population are affected, low-income families are especially vulnerable to obesity and other chronic diseases because they end up eating unhealthy food. Unfortunately, the poorest among us have the least access to healthy foods, many times without a full-service grocery store or farmer's market in their community. We still have a long way to go. But there have been positive signs of progress through the implementation of our child nutrition programs. Thanks to the introduction of stronger standards brought about by the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act, enacted just a few years ago, students across the country are experiencing healthy school environments with more nutritious meal options. One area facing dire need of increased access to child nutrition programs and nutritious meals they provide is Flint, Michigan. As everybody knows, the residents of Flint are struggling with the consequences of exposure to high levels of lead as a result of the city's contaminated municipal water supply. Lead exposure is especially damaging to infants, toddlers, and expectant mothers, and can cause behavioral and cognitive problems that last a lifetime. Although there is no cure for lead poisoning, research shows that a healthy diet, including zinc, vitamin C, iron, and calcium, can mitigate some of the harmful effects. And so federal supplemental funding for nutrition programs, especially the WIC program, would allow access to healthier diets. Funding for a nutrient-rich third meal and extension of WIC benefits to age of 10 years of age for all eligible children would go a long way to help the residents of Flint, Michigan deal with lead poisoning. And so, Mr. Speaker, our committee is now working on a child nutrition reauthorization bill, and with this reauthorization, we have a great opportunity to continue to improve the way that children eat, to expand access to nutritious meals, and to end the crisis of childhood hunger in this country. These efforts do not end with the school year or even the school day. Whether in schools, child care settings, or summer programs, our goal should be to provide high-quality and nutritious foods to all of America's children. We have a choice to make. We can put money into these important programs now and support healthy eating in our schools and other settings, or we can cut corners and spend more money down the road on chronic diseases and other social services, putting the well-being of our children and our nation's security at risk. So make no mistake, either way, we will spend the money. A few years ago, medical expenditures to treat obesity in the United States were estimated to be $147 billion, 16.5% of all U.S. medical expenditures. Investing in the front end by maintaining strong nutrition standards and increasing access to healthy meals is obviously a better choice for our nation. And so, Mr. Speaker, I urge my members of Congress to continue to invest in our nation's future by moving forward, not backward, on issues of food insecurity and child nutrition. And I want to thank the gentleman from Massachusetts again for his long-time advocacy for his efforts to reduce hunger and to provide better nutrition for our nation's children.